I am super excited about our next guest. We got Walker Bormann, who's an assistant general agent for the Knights of Columbus in Iowa. And we've got Gregory Waddle, who's a financial advisor. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Now, I know a little bit about your background, but the audience doesn't. So, Walker, how did you get started?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Tom. How I got into the business was really quite simple. My dad had worked for the Knights of Columbus already for 10 plus years at that point. I saw with the way he had ran our family working for the Knights of Columbus, where there was a lot of faith in our household. There was a lot of flexibility with his time. He rarely ever missed sports activities. And then obviously there was a potential for a professional income there. So I knew there was really no other choice for me than to join the Knights of Columbus and pursue the same passion that my dad had.
So second generation.
Absolutely.
Greg, what about you?
Yeah, so when I started looking at the Knights, it was kind of a non-traditional. I don't have a background or a family that's been in the insurance industry, but I have always sought to work for a company that has values that are aligned with my values. So that was always the most important thing when looking for a job. So after I graduated with my master's from Benedictine College, I ended up working in human resources for a few years. And then when that shift happened, about that time, the agent that had first sat down with my family with the Knights of Columbus and helped me put a plan in place to protect my family ended up moving on. And that's when I started talking to Walker's dad, Mike Bormann, about the Knights of Columbus and working for them in the insurance industry. And once I really learned and saw what the opportunity was there, I remember I was talking to my wife when I was looking for jobs. I said, if I could find a job where I meet with 2 to 3 people a day, I kind of prepare for that and then have that conversation. It just really brings me to life to have those conversations and see all those different people. And turns out, working in the insurance industry for the Knights of Columbus, it shares my values. I get to spend my days sitting down and meeting with 2 to 3 people and really getting to know and build community. So I've always been passionate about kind of finances and all of that. And my wife and I both have business degrees, so we treated our household as a business and our finances. And I was already having a lot of those conversations with our friends, so it was really a nice natural transition. It's been one of the most amazing things I've ever done.
And the Knights, it's a very unique organization. So tell me a little bit more about the Knights of Columbus and why they got in the insurance business to begin with.
In 1882, Father McGivney, a parish priest in New Haven, Connecticut, founded the Knights of Columbus. Now, we have to go back to this time and realize that there was a pretty dire situation facing especially the Irish immigrants, and Father McGivney's parish served the Irish immigrant community. A lot of these men ended up working dangerous jobs, which would often result in their death or disability, which would leave the family completely financially destitute. And these men didn't have a lot of opportunities or resources to put protection in place for their families. And so when they died, the family would be totally financially destitute. They wouldn't really be able to provide to keep the family together or to pay for the funeral. Well, Father McGivney did everything he could to help them. He was limited as well in his resources. When he was in seminary, his father passed away and he had to go home for a time and help provide for his family. And so he brought the men of the parish together and formed the first Knights of Columbus Council with the primary objective of providing for the members and their families in the event of a death, right? So it really started out as these men coming together and promising that if a brother knight passed away, they would pass the hat to make sure that family had what they needed to pay for the funeral, to keep the family in the home. And today we've grown to over 16,000 councils worldwide, and we continue Father McGivney's vision in an incredible way. I know, Walker, you've got something to share on that.
Absolutely. As you've heard, obviously, a little of the brief history of the Knights of Columbus there. I'd like to dive in the numbers a little bit on what the Knights of Columbus have really done over the course of time, from our humble beginnings there of 12 guys joining the Knights of Columbus in the basement of a church to over 2 million members here across 17 countries. Is really a remarkable thing. And as we kind of dive into the numbers here, it'll give you an idea of what the Knights of Columbus has done over that course of time. We've got $27 billion of assets under management with the Knights of Columbus, over $121 billion of life insurance in force. We're a Fortune 1000 company, as well as when you look at our charitable side, it's really an amazing thing to see that over the last 10 years, we've done more than $1.7 billion, and that's B with a billion, as well as 650 million man hours across those 10 years time. So really remarkable numbers.
How do the Knights help families manage risk and build wealth? This show's all about helping people build wealth. How do the Knights do that?
Well, it starts with an initial sit down, that comprehensive financial needs analysis that's complementary to all our members, where we really understand, okay, here's what you have, here's your income, here's your assets, here's your, your debts, and what are those needs in the event of an unexpected death. So really, and I know you say it in your book, right, everyone should work with a financial advisor and have that check-in, that review. We provide that on an annual basis to the members, and that allows us to understand, hey, this is what's going on with your particular situation, and that allows us to come up with an insurance solution to help them address those needs.
And I know one of the things you do is you try to make sure that people have enough money in their emergency fund. How can a young person kind of ensure that they got enough money in that emergency or rainy day fund?
Sure, so it really starts off with discipline right off the bat. A lot of people, we'll sit down and obviously do our financial needs analysis, and a lot of people have a general idea where they want to go, but really no written plan. So if you can make a written plan to develop some sort of discipline that points in the direction of maybe it's just putting away that 3 months of income to create that emergency fund. Maybe it's adding more to the 401k or building upon Roths, establishing permanent life insurance. There's a lot of opportunities there, and it really just starts with the discipline of let's start with a plan, let's learn as much as we can about our clients, and then build upon that with a written plan of where we want to go for them.
Let's talk about budget, because I think that's a key part of what you do too, is help people budget, and we've talked about that in my book, and that you gotta, everybody's going to make millions of dollars, but how much are they going to keep? And in order to keep more, you got to be disciplined in your spending, and I think that's where the budget fits in. But go ahead and share with me about.
Well, absolutely. You know, when we do that financial needs analysis, you sit down, you have that conversation. It's amazing to me how many times that conversation hasn't been had. Where's the money going? You know, every family should have an exercise of saying, I understand where the money's going, and once you name those dollars and know where they're going, you have a little bit more control over that, right? And so even just having that initial conversation so we can understand, hey, what's the need in the event of a death, or what's the need here? We need to understand what the expenses are, what are the bare bones expenses, and that's a good exercise that a lot of people haven't gone through, right? And so once you develop that, you kind of understand, okay, now we can find a way to set aside that money to have that emergency fund, that 3 to 6 months of living expenses.
Now, I know the Knights do a lot with life insurance. Why is life insurance so core to what you do?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, obviously, is the protection of the family. When we're looking at things such as income protection, debt protection, and maybe it's even legacy planning, there's a lot of different areas where life insurance comes into the picture at, and it's one of the first things we need to do in every household is reduce risk. So if we can reduce risk by protecting that income to know, hey, no matter what happens to this husband or wife, that their financial plan is going to be met. It has to be done through life insurance, so it reduces risk and obviously allows for wealth to continue.
How do annuities fit into what you're doing? Because I know the Knights offer mutual funds, but also annuities. So where do annuities fit in?
Right. Well, you know, annuities are an incredible tool because when I first started learning about annuities, and I hadn't heard about them before, the easiest way to frame it in my mind is it's basically a self-funded pension, right? You can turn them into an income stream in retirement, which really can give you a lot of peace of mind in retirement, having that guaranteed paycheck in retirement. And again, with an annuity, that income stream isn't tied to stock market fluctuations. So you know, hey, regardless of what's going on in the stock market, I'm going to have this guaranteed paycheck coming in. So you can kind of avoid some of that risk in your retirement income strategy, right? But while you're building it as well, our annuities are fixed annuities with a guaranteed return, right? So you can also use that as a diversification strategy, right? When you're looking at, well, the conservative portion of your funds could be put there to protect and grow on a guaranteed basis. And having some funds, right, part of that diversification strategy is to say, okay, well, depending on the stock market, which we expect to see fluctuations in, right, this fixed guaranteed annuity is going to preserve some of that wealth that allows you to wait for things to recover in the market. And it's the same thing when you turn that into an income stream, right? You're going to want to still have some money in the market to control for inflation, but that income stream allows you to buy that time, so you don't necessarily have to pull money out when things are down.
So now we talked a little bit about long-term care, but I know, you know, long-term care is the #1 thing that can wipe out a client's entire life's work, and many people aren't protecting against that risk, and it's a big risk. So how do you deal with that at the Knights?
I think a lot of people think of long-term care insurance as nursing home insurance, right? I'm never going to go to the nursing home. Well, you know, having a plan for extended care is so much more than that, right? With the Knights of Columbus, our plan is comprehensive, so it can cover some of that in-home care that you might need, some of that assisted living, right? And so a lot of people are living longer, and they're experiencing some of this risk, right, that comes with longevity, and that, to your point, can decimate a savings. And so having a plan for long-term care insurance says, look, if I need care, not only do I have the permission to get care because I have a plan for it and I don't have to worry about, am I going to outlive my assets paying for this care, right? You've got a plan for care. It gives you the permission to seek and have that care. A lot of times you might still be living that same lifestyle, but you might need help with, maybe it's bathing or dressing or some of those activities of daily living. And this would allow you to have someone come into your home, and your lifestyle might be the same as what you've planned your assets to cover. And this extended care plan can come in and say, all right, this added cost on top of that is going to be covered, and you get to continue to live that lifestyle.
So, you know, this show's all about helping young people build wealth. How about giving some tips to the young people out there, some things you've seen that have gone well or not well, and I mean, they have time on their side, so there's a lot of things young people can do, but how do you counsel your members?
Absolutely. So starting off, I think it really comes down, kind of earlier in the show, we talked about having a written plan, being disciplined, putting money away, pay yourself first. And if you can do those things, and it doesn't have to be $500 a month today, maybe it's today what's affordable is $90 a month or $100 a month to start accumulating savings or wealth in your retirement programs. So if you can sit down with a financial advisor and put together a plan, I think that'll be the best thing for you, is start early and have a written plan there.
Now, Father McGivney started this whole company. I mean, he's a pretty special guy. Tell me a little bit more about the history of all that.
Father McGivney started the Knights of Columbus again to provide financial aid to the members and their families. And today we've grown to the largest Catholic lay fraternal organization in the world, right? So, you know, it's really neat to look at the Knights of Columbus and to look back at our founder, who's blessed now and on his way to being declared a saint. And if anyone wants to learn more about, you know, Father McGivney and his story, there's a great book, Parish Priest, as well as, you know, resources online to learn a little bit more about that miracle that's attributed to his intercession.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. I know there's people out there, they want to get in touch with you. How can they find you?
Yeah, so it's real easy. You can just go to KofC.org and go to Find an Agent. And although we're agents for the Knights of Columbus, we don't cover all states. So you can find your agent by typing in your council number or by typing in your zip code if you're not a member of the Knights, and they'll have their information pop up right there on who your agent or general agent is in your territory. As for those local to Iowa, Greg's in Des Moines, I'm in Cedar Rapids, so we're happy to help when we can.
Right, absolutely. There's over 1,000 agents in North America working for the Knights of Columbus now, and you know, we love to have the opportunity to sit down with your family and share a little more specifically about how the Knights and our insurance can help you. And then on the investment side, with Knights of Columbus Asset Advisors, we can work with anyone that's interested in investing in line with the values of the Catholic Church. So to learn more about the Knights of Columbus, so you can always go to KofC.org and look that up. And with Knights of Columbus Asset Advisors, we can work with anyone that's interested in looking.
And let's be clear, it's KofC, not KFC.
That's right.
That'll take you to a different location. KofC.org,
yes, sir.